Hey, Fanboy Nation.
This is your pal Daffy Duck, and you're watching.
You're watching.
We're watching. You're watching Fanboy.
Fanboy. Fanboy.
Fanboy.
Fanboy.
A fanboy, etc.
Fanboy Nation.
Dot. I assume Tom.
Congratulations, the co-writers, and Christopher's also the director of Code 3. Rainn Wilson is essentially me once I got tired of teaching. So, this was a very relatable film.
Nice.
Minus driving everybody crazy, towards the end, towards the end of my tenure.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is a movie about burnout. I mean, I think it's a movie about paramedics, and Patrick was a real paramedic for, I think, 12 years. I knew nothing about it, and I think when you see the movie and discover what the job really is, it turns the job on its head. It's nothing what you think it is.
There's some humorous scenes, but quite a bit of it has to be true to life. And I'm not going to give too much away because the trailer even shows it. Some guy, off his rocker thinking he's the president, and the stuffed squirrel is the first lady, and just it's interesting to see how much of it is true to life and how much of it is over exaggerated just for the humor aspect of it. How did you two find the balance between the absurd blended in with the reality?
Well, first of all, everything that you see in the film is based in reality, like solidly 100%. They are typically like a compilation of patients and characters. But everything that you see in the movie happened to some degree in real life. And so the absurdity aspect is really highlighting when you come home and tell your family some stories, they're like, there's no way that's real. And then we get a chance to portray that on screen.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Christopher.
No, I was gonna say that, but everything in the movie, from like the camaraderie, from the humor. I mean, some things are really, really funny, and then some things are heartbreaking, and that's the job. Like that's the real job.
With something like this, you don't have an average day. It's not like I went to my 9 to 5, I sat in the cubicle, I had to fill out this worthless report that could have easily been a single email. Like, there's some serious issues. You can't sit there and have a standard conversation. How does a conversation at a dinner table look like after something like this?
I mean, it's really just, it really depends on who you're having dinner with, first off, about how much details you want to get into. But it's really just about offloading kind of the emotional role that you just went through. So especially with family, they would kind of get like the sometimes PG-13 to PG. Like my mom was never interested in the R-rated versions of what happened, but it's especially when we're around other coworkers, though, it's kind of like here's what happened, and it's kind of like you sit on the beaver tail and you're basically telling stories of what happened before, and it's just a way to bond with your coworkers that other people won't understand, because sometimes the things that we complain about are not relatable to what I would say normal people.
The cast that you guys have is absolutely incredible. I mean, obviously Rainn Wilson as Randy and Lil Rel Howery as Mike, but you also have Aimee Carrero. I'm sorry, Aimee, if I'm butchering your last name, as Jessica, and then Rob Riggle as Dr. Serrano. Rob is notorious for playing some of the biggest jerks in comedy, yet everybody named Rob tends to play a big jerk in comedy. I've noticed that. Like Bob Odenkirk will do it, Rob Riggle, Rob Corddry. What is it about people that share my first name end up being able to play such great jerks?
Well, we knew the nature of this movie. The entire cast had to be comedic actors, great actors, but comedic actors who could go to the dark side. And all those guys, I think, have a tremendous capacity. I mean, they are some of the funniest people. But Rainn Wilson, I was a huge Rainn Wilson fan before this movie. And part of what I think is so interesting about him is how he can cram all these layers into his characters. Like, I think the reason Dwight Schrute is one of the most iconic TV characters ever is because Rainn brings all this, like this pathos, like this genuine compassion and love into Dwight. But also, I think danger, right? Like, he's not just a guy at the office talking smack. Like, I think he, like I said, when he rips up a CPR dummy with a knife, it's like, oh man, that guy's cut up a lot of deer. And I think Rainn, the same thing I think with this character. Here's a paramedic who's burnt out, and the more stressed out he gets, I think the funnier he gets. And he goes through a wild ride, right? Like this kind of high energy night that's supposed to be his last night on the job, and it just about breaks him. And seeing that entire range of like just driving the truck and laughing at the weirdest things to absolute heartbreak and bouncing between both is the job. And Lil Rel, also one of the funniest people in the world, had me crying laughing sometimes on set. But he has a scene that I think will knock you out, like a dramatic scene that is really affecting.
And I will just say that Rob is absolutely delightful. He is not, at least in my experience, is not the person he portrays.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Everybody that's named Rob tends to play a great jerk on film, yet ends up being one of the nicest people.
Rob is hilarious, man. I mean, I mean, he was hilarious on The Daily Show, but like 22 Jump Street and even Step Brothers, man. Like, he's so funny in those. He's just one of the funny guys. But here he's playing like a really kind of a formidable foil to Rainn, and like just this real asshole of a surgeon that is like, you know, true to life. I mean, based on some real folks that Patrick worked with who were like excellent surgeons, really miserable to deal with, and that's what Rob is.
And
very much the God complex.
Yeah,
very much so. Yes. And Yvette Nicole Brown, I think, straddles both those worlds, where she can turn it on, like in that one scene, and then she's just incredible and so compassionate, but she really holds Rainn firm to the fire of like, this is your job. You can bulldoze everybody else. You're not bulldozing me.
Right. Yeah, the cast is so phenomenal. Everything that's come along with it, and I'm doing my best not to give any spoilers because we want everybody to see it on September 12th in theaters. Usually when we see something like this, it's a cop drama where it's the cop and it's on his last day. You know, he's on his final patrol, and then of course he always ends up dying in whatever that situation is. But here we're dying laughing because we know how easy it is in our professions to become so desensitized that something that's so dark can easily make us laugh, and especially push us over the edge the way it does with Randy. Patrick, you having gone through that, I don't want to speak for you and having gone through the darkness and over the edge, but, you know, in preparing to leave that career, how accurate does that depiction come into most of the people that you know, in that as they're ready to retire or quit, or like, hey, I hit my 10 years, I can get a minimum pension, you know, let's kind of breeze through this?
Well, I mean, to answer the first part of your question, I think the only honest way to tell this story is, you know, through humor, because it's so dark, and it's very true to life to be able to just be able to talk about the things that we go through or the things that we see. To the second part of the question about, you know, after 10 years, they get a minimum pension. I think my biggest thing is when you stop caring about the patients is when it's time to leave. And that doesn't come with a timestamp. One of the things that we worked, really hard on in this film, well, two things. Number one was that it was going to be medically accurate. And so anybody who works this job is going to see things like non-rebreathers are filled, you know, the IVs are run the way they're supposed to, the monitors are correct. But the second part, which was core, and I'm talking like major conversations that Chris and I would have while writing this, is that the patient's never the butt of the joke. The setups can be funny. There's zany things that happen, but the person in crisis is never the punchline. And so for me, that's my nod to say, yes, we deal with some pretty horrendous things, but we also want to make sure that no matter what, the vast majority of people that do this job are doing it for the right reasons. And that means that we deal with crazy things, but hopefully we're doing it with compassion and empathy to the people that are calling for help.
And I think that was an important aspect of the film, and people will notice that because it's so easy to make, you know, quote unquote, the crazy person the butt of the joke when really they're the ones that actually need help.
Exactly.
It seems to be that like for at least the last half decade, maybe even pre-pandemic, we were struggling with humor because nobody could really laugh at themselves. Everybody was so uptight and so serious and so just wound up. Is it time to finally let loose and enjoy ourselves again, you know, in essentially a Blazing Saddles style of dark comedy like this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think especially like, hey man, dark times is when you need laughter, and also I think things that tell the truth. Like I think that's what's so interesting. I think that's why this movie's funny, is because it's honest, and the fact that Patrick conceived it as a comedy originally was mind blowing to me, because that was the way to tell the truth. It reminds me of kind of that 70s era of movies where it's like there's things that can be a little more Wild West all of a sudden, because I think people want something new. They want new stories, new movies.
And to your point, I think we're losing something significant if we can't come together and have a shared laugh at something. I just think it's part of the human condition that, like to your point, I think we've missed it for a while.
It's interesting to see that like people that live in constant tragedy have a better sense of humor than people in the first world that tend to have easier lives. Like a few years ago, the pier blew up in Beirut, and I called my cousin overseas asking if he was okay, and his response was, we're fine. The windows stopped blowing out about 3 blocks ago. So he was just relieved that he didn't have to change the windows. And it's a funny way to deliver it, but to see how something like this also goes, in that there's humor in tragedy, is also a relief, especially with a film like Code 3.
Well, so humor is how paramedics survive, right? Like they need the gallows humor. They need that because they deal with some tough stuff. So I think that's where the movie comes from and why that was the natural format for it. But like I said, it goes to, it has a lot of energy and it goes to some weirder, darker places too. So it's, like I said, I think it's the entire spectrum of what the paramedic's life really is in one film.
Was there a joke that you two wrote that was a little too dark for general audiences, but would have hit hilariously with first responders?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple of them that I feel would have done us really well.
Yeah, but right, there's a point where like you can freak out. I mean, I think you can freak out the general public in a way, because like I said, I think there's things paramedics can say to each other in private because they know, right? But that telling to somebody on the street, they would be horrified.
Right. And that's why I was wondering, because you have to find that balance between, yes, being accurate and respectful to the paramedics and the first responders that deal with them, but you also want to bring in the general audience to get the joke as well and not have it be too dark for them that it's so niche only for one community.
Yeah, or turns them off.
Right.
No, I mean, look, we made this movie for 2 reasons. One, like I said, ordinary people can see it and actually understand what the job is really like. But one of our highest goals was any paramedic, any EMS worker could watch the movie and go, "Oh my God, they got it right." Yeah.
Have you had special screenings for paramedics? Just, and hey, here's the select group. We want paramedics only. Let's see what their reaction is going to be.
I don't think we've ever done one that was just EMS. I think we had a mixed audience. I know that we did one of our test screenings was heavy on field providers, but I don't think it was ever 100%, not yet. We did a small screening at Lifeline and all of those people are obviously EMTs and paramedics, and it really resonated with them. So we're really happy about so far the influencers in that space that had an opportunity to see it. It seems to be resonating across the board with them. So that's a huge notch in my belt that I'm really proud of.
It was also interesting, the paramedics who watched it, even though we were rigorously medically accurate, they mentioned something to Patrick that something had changed like in the 10 years since Patrick had done the job, where they're like, oh, this medical procedure is slightly different. I mean, it was just a hair's difference, but like, no, man, we actually fixed it in voiceover. It was off camera anyway, so it was good, but it was like just these little fixes, but just the fact that like the paramedics called out like, oh, that's not what we do anymore. But like I said, we wanted to get it right.
Shocker, protocols change in 10 years.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So then this begs the question for Patrick. Whenever you watch a medical show or drama or anything, and they take the defibrillator and rub it together first before they try to revive the person, how much did that drive you nuts? While on the job,
I am the most miserable person to watch a medical show with. It's awful. My wife will just turn the show off. It's hilarious. The one show that I feel really does it well, recent memory, is The Pit. But yeah, there's so many just awful things that people use as plot devices that are just not even in the realm of reality.
Nothing about the defibrillator is what you think. I mean, the defibrillator, we all watch TV and we all think that the defibrillator restarts your heart when you flatline. That is incorrect, man. The defibrillator stops your heart.
and you
So-
hope it restarts.
Yeah, so it's like your whole idea that we've watched TV all these years and you think you know how this stuff works. Like, nope, not at all.
I just figured that the one on set was cold, so you rubbed it together to heat it up for the guy lying on the table, and then it just stuck in all of cinema.
If they're cold, if you're worried about them being cold, you don't need the defibrillator.
Yeah. So the last couple of years, a lot of cinema has been disposable content. Like it'd be fun. Oh, I'm watching it at home. It's playing in the background while I'm folding laundry. It's not often something that you'd want to revisit. With Code 3, I want to revisit it because, you know, it's something that I haven't been a part of with EMTs and working this industry. You know, what is it about this film that we should get up off the couch, put on pants, and go to the theater and see it?
I think it is the entire emotional spectrum of a movie it's a movie, man. Like it's exciting. It's really funny. It completely surprises you and it'll break your heart, I think.
I think the core is that this is an insanely human story. And while I have immense amount of respect and true fandom for some of the Marvel stuff that's out there, I think people are clamoring for human stories that they can see themselves in, that, like Chris said, spans an authentic story across all the different emotional beats. And for something like this to really see it in a theater and get really involved in it, we want you to feel like you're the fourth person riding along. We want you to feel like you're in this and really gripped by all of the things that are happening. And I think that can happen at home, but I think it's much better communally when you're laughing with strangers in a dark place and seeing something hopefully new and exciting for you.
Right. And before I let you go, the title Code 3, because I know someone's going to sit there and go, why didn't you ask that? What is the reference Code 3 for?
So Code 3 is radio jargon, basically, that just all it means is that you're going lights and sirens. So you would hear something on the radio like, I'm en route to the hospital, Code 3. And all that means is I'm going to the hospital with my lights and sirens on. Or now you'll hear it say emergent. We're en route emergent to wherever.
But it's the highest level of emergency for the ambulance, right? Like you're racing through the streets.
And Code 3 is pretty universal. So anybody who works in police, fire, EMS knows that reference to Code 3.
Gentlemen, I really want to thank you for your time today. Code 3 in select theaters, September 13th. Double check. Was it 13th or 12th? Because I keep getting my dates screwed up. What's that?
12.
12th, thank you. 13th is a Saturday. So Friday, September 12th in select theaters. Christopher, Patrick, I really want to thank you again for your time today. Where can we find the two of you on social media for the film to keep the conversation going? And where should EMTs reach out to you and go, yep, you got this right. Oh, that little hair thing, you know, that's changed over a decade. You really, you know, screwed the pooch on it.
I'm Patrick Pianezza on Instagram.
Yeah, I'm Christopher Leone Film on Instagram and Christopher Leone at Blue Sky.
Wonderful, gentlemen. Thank you again. September 12th. I want to make sure that's right. Code 3 in select theaters.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.